Hey, I'm Walter, your communications director. This is Dan Adcock, our legislative director. How you doing?
Good, Walter.
And Dan, you're usually in that building
Yeah.
back there, or at least spend a lot of time. But today you're here in the studio to talk about all sorts of things happening on the Hill, but also what happened in Texas on Tuesday, which is that Ken Paxton, the state attorney general, edged out incumbent Senator John Cornyn in the Republican Senate primary. And of course, Trump had endorsed Ken Paxton. Is it possible that could backfire on the president?
Oh yeah, big time. And there's more Republican senators that, in one way or another, Trump has sidelined, at least for the next Congress, and has either been beaten in primaries or has resigned because they thought they would get beat.
Trump endorsed sitting Senator John Cornyn's opponent. That's why some of the establishment Republicans in the Senate are pissed off.
John Cornyn is understandably disappointed with the president for throwing him under the bus, but John Cornyn in the Republican caucus in the Senate had a lot of friends. He helped a lot of people get elected as Republican colleagues, and I think a lot of people who were friends of his aren't very happy either.
Is Ken Paxton less electable than John Cornyn would have been re-electable against the challenger? Is it James Talarico?
Right.
For that Senate seat in Texas?
Absolutely. In fact, the Cook Political Report, they said even before the primary yesterday that if Ken Paxton were to win it, then the Texas Senate race would go from a likely Republican to a lean Republican.
Lean Republican. And in Texas, that's a pretty big deal. It offers a glimmer of hope for the Democrats, right? Just that it leans
right, now,
Republican instead of
exactly. The race is now in play. It's not going to be easy, but Talarico could do it.
So on Capitol Hill, in that building back there that we love, the Republicans are trying to pass Reconciliation 2.0. They used Reconciliation 1.0 to pass the big ugly bill last year, which was devastating for working families and seniors too. So what's in this 2.0 bill, and why might Trump face some resistance on it now?
Money for the ballroom that Trump wants instead of the East Wing, right?
Right.
And they're anticipating, Senate Republicans are anticipating that Democrats are going to be offering amendments that try to rein in this so-called slush fund that Trump has set up through this legal settlement that could potentially provide money to January 6 protesters and people who assaulted police officers.
Was that slush fund $1.8 billion?
That's right.
Just in case you haven't heard, Trump and his own IRS and Department of Justice came to an understanding where there would be this $1.8 billion slush fund created that could be used to essentially pay off Trump's cronies and the January 6th protesters for the supposed damages.
Yeah, protesters is kind of a kind word.
Right, insurrectionists.
Yeah.
If you will. I think you said before the break that $1.8 billion slush fund could become an issue when they vote on this reconciliation bill, because the Democrats may offer amendments to try to block it. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, the rules in the Senate are very different from the House in that there's something called vote-a-rama. And vote-a-rama refers to like 30 hours of debate on a bill like this, and any amendment can be offered. So the Republican senators are anticipating that their Democratic colleagues are going to offer amendments that either say you can't do this at all, or there at least there be some kind of guardrails on how this money is used. And so Republicans feel like if they're forced to take these votes, they're really going to be embarrassed.
So what's happening there? We know, you mentioned earlier that Republicans are a little disappointed that Trump backed the challenger to one of their friends, John Cornyn. But also, is there some genuine discomfort among the Republican caucus about the $1.8 billion slush fund and the ballroom that taxpayers are now asking to chip in for? Do you believe that there's some genuine concern, or is it all posturing?
On one level, it's politically toxic. They know how unpopular both are.
The ballroom and the slush fund.
The slush fund, but the slush fund even more so. And I think there's some that actually do have ethical concerns about it, because they see it as just blatantly dealing in corruption.
And let's talk real quick before we go about Reconciliation 3.0. It sounds like a very bad sequel. Like, what would be in that, and when is that likely to happen?
Okay, the House Budget Committee, chaired by Congressman Jody Arrington from Texas, is already working on it. And what it would do is it would do all the other things that Republicans want to do or try to do to say that they're doing things for people before the election. But it would include things like funding for the Defense Department, including an undetermined amount of money for the Iran war. But it also would have some things on healthcare, but it'd be on healthcare in terms of the Republicans' greatest hits on healthcare, like health savings accounts with high deductible health insurance plans that are actually more about being financial vehicles than health insurance.
So it's all the rewarmed, tepid healthcare ideas that haven't gotten any traction in the past.
Right, that tend to benefit their rich donors rather than rank and file Americans, who, by the way, are really suffering right now because the Republicans allowed the enhanced premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act to expire, and then as a result, there's millions of people who have lost their health care.
Which, by the way, has not been addressed by Congress.
No.
They've never done anything about those Affordable Care Act premium subsidies being stopped and then people's premiums going way up. A large percentage of Americans are now having to forego some groceries or some drugstore items or other expenses to pay for health care.
That's right.
Is there anything in the next Reconciliation Bill 3.0, the sequel, that seniors need to be worried about?
That's a $64,000 question. We don't know yet. Medicaid's already been cut by $1 trillion. It could be even more, which would be really horrible. Cuts to Medicare. We also have to worry about the Save America Act, which is a voter suppression bill that would definitely be harmful to a lot of seniors who depend on mail-in voting, because that would be prohibited under the law.
And please, we're out of time, but please tell your members of Congress to never vote for the Save Act, because the only thing it'll help save is Trump's behind. It won't do anything for you and the integrity of your vote. Okay, Dan.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Walter.
All right.
Okay.
We'll see you next time.